Good afternoon, and welcome to the panel on AI for Human Capital Development. I'm Jennifer Schenker, Editor-in-Chief of The Innovator, a global publication about digital transformation. And here with me this afternoon are Alexandre Pachulski, who is the author of a new book called Generation AI, and co-founder and chief product officer at Talentsoft, a global leader in talent management. The company raised $50 million round a few years ago. It's part of the next CAC 40, and it operates in more than 130 countries. Also with us here today is Hugo Lassiège, who is CTO at Malt.com, a platform that connects corporate clients with specialized freelancers. It adds 3,000 new missions every minute. It has 30,000 customers, and some 200,000 freelancers use its network in France, Spain, and Germany. So let's dive right in. Most people, when they hear about AI, um, think about artificial intelligence replacing humans in the workplace, or they've heard stories about how when AI is put in charge of hiring, that it can actually reinforce traditional biases when it comes to gender, race, or ethnic group. Our panelists today are going to talk about whether AI can actually do good in the workplace, how it can do a better job matching the right candidate to the right job, help companies to discover untapped potential in their current employees, and help connect people with new, potentially more interesting work. So, Alexandre, let's start with you. How is Talentsoft using AI to do a better job of matching people with the right job?
Hello, Jennifer, and hello, everyone. Well, actually, the aim of Talentsoft is really to reveal untapped potential and help to design great teams. What do I mention that? It's because most of HRIS actually try to detect the key profiles, try to detect who will be the top performers, and it's a kind of a very individualistic approach. And what we are trying to do at Talentsoft, it's not only help people to become aware of their own potential, their own skills and talents, which is not that easy, because depending on the education system, you can have 25, 30 or 40-year-old and not necessarily know where is your talent, what is your talent. So first, collecting all the data around people at work, we try to reveal this potential, you know, the kind of mirroring effect you could offer to a Billy Elliot pretending to be a boxer while being a dancer. So we try to reveal the dancers within companies. And we also try to create great teams, because in the kind of crisis we are currently living in, we don't need individual heroes. We really need teams that can work together, innovate, find new solutions to more and more complex problems. And what we try to do at Talentsoft is leveraging AI, not only to detect potential, but also to try to identify how someone could fit within a team from a cultural point of view, in terms of practices, habits, culture. How could it work? So this is really what we are trying to achieve at Talentsoft.
Okay, thanks. Let me just ask a follow-up question about potential. Recently, I was talking to someone who said, companies make a mistake when they look at, say, a large department like accounting and say, well, we can automate a lot of those tasks. We can just get rid of them. But meanwhile, we have to fill a lot of new posts for cybersecurity experts, and we can't find them outside the company. And what they can do is identify people who are in certain jobs like accounting and match that to the skill set of the new jobs of the future. And then with just a certain amount of upskilling or reskilling, help these people move to another area of the company rather than being laid off. So do you see that as a trend? Do you think we can use AI to identify the people in the old jobs and help move some of them into the jobs of the future?
I believe so, because we hear a lot dealing with AI that AI is full of biases and that's a real issue. But actually, if you look at human beings, we are also full of biases, because just with your example, how many people would be open enough to look at accountants and say, oh, they could be great at cyber security. And actually, we only believe what we have already seen working. And what is interesting with AI is that I believe there is a way to take risk differently. AI won't be afraid about being yelled at by its manager. So eventually, AI will push for a move that no human being will have pushed. The problem is that AI will be educated through the data we will have pushed to these algorithms. And so if data don't allow to reveal this kind of possibilities, this kind of potential, eventually AI could be also stuck the way human beings are stuck. So how you feed AI, the kind of data you are going to provide, the fact that it's wide enough, wider than its own organization is key. Otherwise, you could eventually repeat the same patterns with AI that you repeat as a human being. So it's a kind of new job that got to be created, a kind of a data collector, a data scientist, and people really educate AI. It could be HR, it could be managers. Maybe that will be a part of your following questions. But I really believe that AI can, in a way, open the chakras of human beings and open possibilities.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And so let me turn now to you, Hugo. Let's talk about how Malt connects very skilled people outside of companies and how you use AI to do that.
Yeah. Um, First of all, I would like to have a little focus on the opportunity of AI in the recruitment. Recruitment is a difficult thing because you have a small amount of time to review a lot of resume, and it is said that a recruiter would spend approximately 30 seconds per resume. And moreover, you have a lot of people working in recruitment that are only a representative of someone else. He has a mission to recruit someone, but he doesn't know exactly the job. So he is able to make some mistakes. For example, he can miss some people because he is looking for someone in data science, and in the resume it is said machine learning. I don't know, but you have a lot of different bias also. You talk about bias in algorithms, but someone that will maybe only focus on educational diplomas. He can only focus on the different previous companies that freelancers has made. And that's why, for me, AI is a huge opportunity, because an algorithm is efficient. It can read a CV in less than 30 seconds, but it can avoid those kind of problems. An AI is able to make some correlation between jobs, between skills. It is possible to detect that someone has a background that fits to the job, and so that's why I mean, there is, on the opposite, I think there is a lot of opportunities in recruitment, and in this time it's really important, not only in this time but in the past few years, spending an efficient time on recruitment is crucial for many companies. Now, if you are, it can give you a competitive advantage on those who don't spend this time efficiently, as always late. So at Malt, we leverage AI to for the companies to help them find the relevant freelancers. So we use algorithms to detect from a job description the different freelancers that are a perfect match for a specific mission. And so when I say relevant, we know for sure that we ask to every customers if they are satisfied by the mission at the end, and we have something like 98% of satisfaction at the end of the mission. And in terms of efficiency, we are able to propose someone in the same day at 98% also. So in the same day, you will have an answer. And another number that is interesting is that we are between 40 and 50% of success rate for to start a mission from job description. So so yeah, from those numbers, I can say that the companies are able to be more efficient and to include, I would say, more to include more diversity also, because when I said that AI is able to read a CV resume with another point of view than a human being, an AI won't read the different things like the name or the gender or the photo, or so it is possible that you have something less uniform in your company thanks to that.
Well, I mean, so I think that's an interesting point to follow up on, and it's something I'd like you both to comment on, because even if the algorithms are not tracking the photo or the gender, there are quite often little clues in the resume about the schools that people went to or the clubs they belong to or other things that do tip off the fact that they may come from a different ethnic background or neighborhood or are a different gender than normal. And what is the best way to confront or try to prevent this bias? Because humans, of course, are biased, and companies were biased in the past about who they hired, and algorithms are trained on this historical data. So how do we safeguard against bias and make sure that the AI we are developing reflects the company's values, the society's values? Alexandre, do you want to take that first?
Yeah. If we come back to what has happened to Amazon, so many people have talked about Amazon with an AI which was discriminating between male and female just because they have educated this AI through 10 years of resumes. So obviously, we've learned that the software industry was not gender balanced. We knew that.
Right.
Amazon is like every company, actually. There will be biases. There will be biases in data. I believe the only mistake here is that they should have tested this AI before putting it live. Because the first thing you got to do with an AI is to learn what your data is telling about you, about your organizations, about you as an individual, before automating whatever it is. So I believe this is the step that I call reveal. When you do that, data will be a kind of teacher for you, a kind of coach. And you will see suddenly all your patterns. You will see that you didn't think about it, but you always, as you said, hire the same profiles from the same very school because your recruiter is coming from this very school. So first you got to learn about yourself. And then you can eventually also go through a non-supervised learning phases with data coming from various organizations or at various industries, and suddenly delivering patterns, saying, maybe detecting what you were explaining before, Jennifer. Oh, you know that accountant should become expert in cybersecurity. And then when you do a non-supervised learning of this kind, you got a model, and then you can test this model with a supervised learning, and then eventually you can even decentralize education, and you go back into the kind of Netflix situation where you will say, I like this movie or I don't like this movie. And if everyone is participating to this education, then you will maybe have something sticking to the ground, sticking to the reality, and not only sticking to the patterns of top managers, of recruiters, of trainers. And I believe that's the name of the game. It's really to decentralize education and start maybe with a wider pattern that the company would have on the first layer of education. So that's why I believe first learn from your own data, then try to educate AI with your patterns in mind, with your biases in mind, and define what are your intents. Because coming back to recruiters, do you want to automate the job of the recruiter? Or do you want recruiters to work differently, to complete them, to go for different ways to recruit different profiles, the way all the TV shows are showing how someone can be enriched thanks to technology? That's exactly what we got to aim here, exactly as in the learning environment. And so at the end of the day, I would say if you have seen the Moneyball movie with Brad Pitt in the baseball environment, it's all about going from different criteria and try to gather people that you can reassemble together for a specific point. If you look for earning money, automating and replacing people, I'm not sure it's really positive for the 10 years to come. If you look for everyone finding its real spot, and this spot allowing everyone to reveal its own talent, maybe you will earn less money, but for sure you will have a company that will work more efficiently, and at the end of the day, that will be able to innovate and face all the problems we are currently facing in.
Thank you. And Hugo, so are you confident in the approach of your company's technology? Can you respond to questions from your corporate clients about how you arrived at certain matches?
Yeah. You mean if they ask us, for example, why we did choose someone? You mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Just to say, we don't just match one or two people. We match a lot of people, and those people say if they are interested or not. But they are all relevant to the job description. Relevant. Yeah, we can of course explain why. We have some criterias on. I would say the job itself. Is it the profile adapted to the job? We are also some criteria about the past records. I mean, is it someone that plays that can play in a big corporate, for example, or maybe in a small startups, or maybe so we have a lot of things about the different behaviors, and we can just quote the resume. So we know for sure that we have those data, and that's why we present you this profile. So, and just to say, yeah, it was quite hard to pass after the answer of Alexandre, because I was I totally agree with what he said. We have a lot of things to do about the data itself. We have to understand the data we have, and we have to do some feature engineering to modify the data, not to modify the data, but how to say that, to sanitize the data, so we know exactly that we erase some things that we don't want to be used in the different criteria, and we have to test. He mentioned Amazon, and yeah, but Amazon tested this thing, and he was able to confirm that there is a bias, and they were able to remove these algorithms. So that's positive in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, sorry, we're just about out of time here now, but I think a good way to summarize our discussion this afternoon is that AI can help improve the recruitment of employees and matching of people to jobs. And it is possible to do so responsibly and transparently. But it takes vigilance on the part of the companies that are using the AI, and it sounds like both companies on our panel today are taking that role pretty seriously. So I thank you both for your participation this afternoon, and thank you to those in the audience for listening.